Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 252. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and it is my turn to host the quarterly roundtable with some of our podcasting network friends. Join me while we welcome Kurt from Two Geeks Talking, Cody from Keeping It Geekly, and Jeffrey Haas from Traversing the Stars.
Hello.
Hey, welcome everybody.
Our second quarterly meeting.
That's right. Yes, our second quarterly meeting. And so for those that are interested, we'll put it in the show notes. So for anybody that Storycomic Presents listeners out there, we'll put in the show notes the one we did back in December that was hosted by Jeffrey at Traversing the Stars. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be kind of like doing an update on what we're all been up to, and also too we're going to do a little roundtable asking some questions on what everybody thinks, and plus because there's an educational component to this and wanting to keep it evergreen, we also want to give any of our audience members out there that are thinking about podcasting and thinking about how to do a podcasting. We're going to have three of our guests who are seasoned, experienced, internationally known podcasters.
International.
We're going to be here. He's going to give us.
It's only because I'm Canadian is why we're international.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio.
Kurt's from Canada. Technically, it's international. See, yeah.
I would say my third biggest audience apparently is Germany, and as a Jew that freaks me out quite a bit. Like, why are they watching me?
What's your motive?
So I guess what the first thing what we'll do is we'll just kind of we'll go around alphabetically for the sake of the audio listeners out there. We'll go alphabetically to introduce yourself and talk briefly about what your podcast does, and then we'll go around and talk a bit about some tips. So Cody, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I am Cody from Keeping It Geekly. We bring the greatest and the latest from comic books and video games and everything in between. I usually interview a indie creator almost every day. I take Sunday through Tuesdays off though, so you can catch me live Wednesday through Saturday, usually around 11 a.m. EST. Breaking down what goes into the creative process, the early beginnings of creators, and if they have a campaign or a book that's running, we usually deep dive that as well. So just a little bit about what we do over on my show. I don't want to hog it up too much. I'll throw it over to my good friend Kurt.
That's right, alphabetical. I mean, technically, I was expecting Barney to start, but
wait, it should have been Jeff, right? I think I messed up my ABC.
Yeah. That's all right. The alphabet is hard.
Hey, at least I do the talking. I don't do the writing. So
go ahead, Jeff. You go. I'll go after.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go.
Next time we should go by experience. But anyways, so I'm the host of Traversing the Stars podcast. I interview the stars of comic books, TV, movies, sometimes music. We got a lot of good guests. We talk for about 30 minutes. Shows come out about 3 times a week.
Nice. Well, I'm Kurt Sasso. I'm the host of Two Geeks Talking, which is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And, I interview creative people in those industries for the past 15 years. I've been doing a lot of wonderful conversations and a lot of wonderful guests more recently. And as of right now, we're into 51 episodes released as of this year. So
let's go.
That's a start. Let's keep it going. How about you, Bern?
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, okay, geez, Louise. Yeah, I can only do it like twice a week, and then I can't. But you guys are just like marathon runners when it comes.
They make pills for it, Barney.
So I know. So we had some end of the year extravaganza when we were on Jeffrey's show, and I know some of the things we talked about was our hopes for the upcoming year. So. Just to kind of like brush off some of the things that we talked about, some of our goals for the upcoming year. We're a quarter of the way through it. So how are we doing with?
Oh God, I forgot. I'll tell you this. Last time we were on, I was drowning in content. I my biggest weakness was my response time when people would message me, and how long it would take for me to get an edited video out. When you go live on my show, the video stays up until the edited video comes out. Now, before when we did this, I think I was still doing them almost every day. I was still trying to break away from that. So I was, I'd have 7-8 videos to edit at any given point. And that quickly grew and grew. And I'm at a point now where I have all my interviews caught up. They're all scheduled. I want to say April 4th. I went from dropping from our last talk, I was dropping like 2 interviews a day to catch up. And I will eventually be just going to 1 interview a day, dropping usually probably the next 2 to 3 days after the interview goes live, drop the live stream, put the post-production one out. So I'm actually, in terms of that, like I'm on cloud 9. It feels good to kind of be out of that. It's given me time to get back into TikTok where, I'm reading DC and Marvel comics, doing narration breakdowns of them. And that gives me more content from other podcasts where we're going to be talking about geek culture news as well as comics as well. So it's kind of opening up like a whole branch of content that I haven't been able to hit because I've been like just so drowning in just like edits, And it's one of those things where you don't want to like jump onto new content and have more stuff to edit. You want to get stuff like taken care of and then, open up that pathway a little.
Right. And it's hard to be worse at something that you do every day. So that's the other reason. Yeah. So what about you, Jeffrey? You've been hitting a lot of So as I say, well, in the show notes for those listening is like we're gonna have out links to everybody's YouTube channels and websites. And Jeffrey, you seem to be nailing just like your guests are people like I've always wanted to hear from this person, and you always end up getting like. And I remember you gave some tips and advice for the listeners that you had on your show about how you're able to land some pretty interesting guests.
Yeah, so far so good. Like I said, we had I think the most recent cool one was Katie O'Brien from Mandalorian. I just had yesterday. Marty Matchless came back. He plays Vane on the Mandalorian as well. So I've had 2 Mandalorian people, so I'm very excited about that one. I got some Star Trek people lined up coming up. Some voice actors I'm very excited about. Like I said, I got Eric Powell and Dan Didio coming up. So I got some good people, and I'm really excited. And I'm just trying to balance the world that I have in front of me between that and the publicist work and now the Kickstarter and all this other crap. So I'm trying not to have a breakdown, but so far so good.
How's your Kickstarter going? For anyone watching,
right now we are $200 above the funding goal.
Let's go.
So far so good.
Nice.
And now we're $100 short of the first stretch goal. So so everyone give me money. All of it. It's not a fun Kickstarter is not a fun life.
Right.
No, I think for me from last year, I was similar with Cody. I was actually drowning in. I had like 4 or 5 interviews I needed to catch up on from last year, and I got through it, and I was still doing the interviews, and so it was a matter of time management, a little more time management from last year, and I found that once I could focus in on the things, and also I changed up my schedule as well as focusing on the more rapid fire and trying to cut down on the amount of time the interviews would actually take down to a half-hour maximum window. It's not really hit that. I'm just going to say it right off the bat, but I'm getting better. Let's put it that way.
It's so hard, right? It's so hard. You like want to make a commitment, and you get in a good conversation. It's hard to break away from that. It's like, I don't want to stop this. Like it's like in the moment,
And when you get more than one person on the show as well too, and you're okay, well, half hour, there's no way you're going to break it down to 15 minutes a person.
Oh no, my God.
A total amount of content. I ran into that with the Ominous Powers crew with Kelly Lacroix and Sean Murphy there from Everyday Magus, and it was just like a 50 some odd minute interview, and it was just like, well, okay, it is.
I had them on the show, and I think it was pretty much just as long. Such an awesome sit down, though, really.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
When I had Marty Bachelor's on yesterday, a couple of days ago, I was doing the editing yesterday. I was like, well, it's a 25-30 minute interview, it won't be easy to edit. But I looked at it, it was a 55-minute interview apparently. I was like, I was positive it was only 30. What the hell did the other 20 minutes go?
The editing part isn't too bad, as long as the guest doesn't have like a lot of like like dips and peaks. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like I know when I go to edit myself, I'm just like one straight line, and I can count on myself to be like, okay, I just need to notch it up just a little bit, and we're good the whole entire interview. When you have some guests that they'll start out very loud and like bombastic, and then they'll drop down, then you have to like snip right here, adjust up, snip again, adjust down. It can take a lot of time. A 30-minute can easily take an hour to 2 hours, depending on how in depth you have to get.
But if you normalize,
I don't edit that much at all. I'm like, unless they say something incredibly stupid, I'm letting it fly.
If you're quiet, you're quiet. That's on you.
yeah,
I'll raise the volume like one time to like the whole thing, then it just goes. My God, I envy you now. I don't envy him, at least very much. I don't. Yeah, you're now, I guess, my life goal now.
Well, Kurt's even worse. Kurt like gets in there and snips out the little ums and everything. He's way in depth, more in depth than me.
I'm a little more hardcore when it comes to that type of stuff, but it's the final product seems to be fine there that way. But if you normalize your audio in the very first track itself, then you're good, and you don't have to worry about tweaking yourself. It'll do.
I need to start doing that. 330 interviews in, and I'm just hearing about this.
Yes, well, ironically, I just learned about it in a quick YouTube clip, which was I just flipped through. It's like, oh, you should normalize your audio. This is how you do it. I'm like, why don't I do that? Because I'm always low all the time, even with my microphone like ramming down my throat right now.
Listeners, listen, this is great podcast tips. So I'm learning this. What do you mean by normalize your audio? It's that.
So normalizing the audio basically takes an entire track of audio and it sets it to a certain level across the board. Audacity has a feature of that where it's called compression. You can amplify and then you set a limiter. If you do that with, say, other programs, like, say, I'm using DaVinci Resolve currently right now, it has a Fairlight system, but it also has the ability in the edit mode to right-click, normalize audio, set the level to, say, -2 decibels or whatever, and it'll go through the entire track, and it will set it to -2 decibels along the way.
I kind of do a little bit between Cody and Kurt when it comes to the editing piece. I'll take out the ums and stuff on my side to make me sound like I know what I'm talking about. That way.
So Barney, do you want to? I listened to this video, this short, and it was like the dumbest thing. But like once you implement it, it's like I should have done this sooner. So instead of doing the pause.
Yeah.
So like it gives you time when you pause. Gives you time to collect your thoughts, and like as long as you time it right, it doesn't even seem like you're looking for something to talk about. It's hard to really start implementing it, but once you do, like you feel just so much more confident in your speech abilities, like just knowing when to pause and like,
Right. Yeah. I get into some cases where like I want to ask like 2 questions at the same time, and it basically has this traffic jam in my brain, and I just like stumble for like 30 seconds to ask a question. And what I do, like post edit, I just edit out that 30 seconds, and then it just sounds like I just asked the question right away. And that makes me sound really smart.
I just go sound like an idiot. Apparently, that's been my game plan. Just sound like an idiot. So, like I think when I first started editing, I cut out all that stuff, and then I've been doing it now for about a year and a half, and I kind of thought to myself, I don't have the time for this going out.
Yeah, it is time consuming, but it just depends on what you're going for. Because half the time I'm going to cut out my ramblings or whatever, and then I'll just get, oh, here's my question, and I'll just throw that in.
Yeah, I don't even do any of that. I will cut out. I have a 2-minute intro to let algorithms like get notified. I like Barney's idea though, going live and just chatting. I normally would go live and just have like a little. It's just a loop, and I was gonna do ad space there, but like I like that. I think that's a really good idea. But yeah, I usually do a 2-minute intro, and I cut that out, and I put a 9-second intro in lieu of it, and then I get right to business. I'll do my introduction. I'll cut out the little pivot to when we transition to a campaign, glue that together, and then that's good. I would like to get in there and do the ums. I'll try to cut out like when I cough. But outside of that, I really don't focus too much. I don't know. I like keeping it raw, and like Jeff said, I just don't have a lot of time for it. If maybe I was interviewing 1 or 2 people a week, that'd be different. But doing like 4 to 5, it's just I can't.
Well, so let me ask you a question then to the 3 of you. It's like, because of that, is there a concern of like burning the candle on both ends by doing a lot of, is like keeping a marathon of making sure that you keep the sustainability of having guests come on? Is do you have a fear of maybe doing too much and then deciding that one day you're just not want to do it anymore, or how does that work?
I'll jump in. I mean, for me right now, like I said, between work, the podcast, the publicist work, the Kickstarter, I'm being forced to go to class for college for an extra point a day. I feel the burnout is real. I mean, it's there. And I can feel it. Like, I try to make sure every guest I have is equally as show as equal interest in every guest I have. I'm beginning to, like, the guest that I'm a little less interested in, I think I'm beginning to sleep in a little bit into my research. Like, the research time I'm doing to the guest is beginning to fall off a little bit. Like, I'm not watching as many of their shows, I'm not doing as much research into it. And I think it's getting there just a little bit where the burnout is peaking. It's just like, it's just in there just a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably why when I was going to university for 4 years doing a double major, I was still doing the show back then, and it was wearing on me a lot, actually. And I actually found a little bit of, probably last year as well too, when we met for the first time, I found it was really one of those things where I was like, I have 4 interviews to do. They're like an hour each, for that matter. There are some guests that's like, I had 2 guests on at one point as well too, and I just didn't have the energy to do it anymore. It just felt like I just need to break away, get my mind reset, and then 2023, here we go with a brand new year, and let's get back into it.
Like, for me, I don't think there's ever been a moment where I doubted my capability or what I wanted to do. I have not done Substack. I'll be honest with you guys. I have not had time to get. I'm looking to jump back into that though. But so, like, for me though, it's kind of been when it would bleed into time with my kids. I was almost done with it at that point. I whatever I do not want to be doing. Like, right now we're doing the sit down. My kids are, watching a movie, eating popcorn. That's okay. It's almost nearing bedtime for them. But, like, doing interviews, like, regularly, like, really got to me. Like, they'd have to go to bed around 8:30, and then I'd be prepping for an interview, or I'd be prepping for an interview while they're getting ready for bed. And that's when I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I like interviewing. I like meeting people. I like reading comics. This is fun. I love this, but I do not love this more than my kids. And that's when I literally was like, I'm not doing this when this is going to have to be done outside of that, or I'm not doing it. And I've been really trying to stay committed to that. Anytime you see me really doing this is when they're at school, or, obviously super late at night. Outside of that though, really a big thing for me is taking care of yourself. So like, I've been trying to take care of my diet. That's been the hardest part, but like cutting out monsters. I was drinking 2 to 3 monsters a day to well, I was doing interviews almost every day. I'd wake up, chug Monster, prep, chug 2 monsters during the interview. So I haven't drank monsters probably since longer than our last get together. It's been 3 or 4 months. Nice. Normally drinking like 2 bottles of water a day. I try to exercise a lot, like literally things to just keep your body in shape, because I'm at my desk for hours a day. So getting up every 2 hours is a big thing for me. Stretching, walking around the house. And then I do a lot of gaming too. So if I'm doing long periods of editing, I will take a break and play a game or do something. Like, it's just a lot of practices that I'm trying to keep in place so I don't burn out. Like, that's kind of like my ticket, because I do so much that if I don't do this stuff, like, because I don't know, I feel like if I burn out, I'm not going to be able to come out of it. I like being a podcaster, doing as much editing as I'm doing. Like, the one time I had a friend pass away, and it took me like 2 weeks to get back into editing. And that's like what caused me to drown with all my content, like, because it just piled up. You do them every day. Like, in 2 weeks, that's 14, and each of them are 30 minutes to an hour long, so it's like preventative measures in place before that happens has been my biggest thing for 2023.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely.
What about you, Kurt?
Yeah. For me, it's the same thing. If I'm getting too bogged down into something, I'll probably slip away for about 15-30 minutes and have a cat nap, and then come on back to it, or I'll play some games and do something like that. But once you get into a zone, once you get into that groove of editing, and you have your own process and style of doing it, it just becomes second nature and habit. So, I mean, I'm currently doing some intros for a singing competition that's not part of the podcasting section of things, but I'm doing some voiceover work for it, and I'm doing some American Idol style intros for a Canadian singing competition. So just
that's awesome.
Something different to do it. And then maybe some podcasting editing gigs as well too, with some people out of LA. So I'm working on that on the side as well too. So it's just, you got to find avenues to push your creativity and not get burnt out. It's hard, but it's easy at the same time.
So Kurt, I recently just started doing extra content for a sports podcast. That's kind of like way out of my comfort zone. What's it like doing something for like a singing competition? Like, do you find yourself like worried that you're hitting that mark if this is like of their standard, or like, because that was a big thing for me. I was like, man, I hope this is what they want. Like, I'm putting hours of work into this. Like,
well, the good news about that is I've done the singing competition for 5 out of the 6 years it's been going on. So I already know, and the kicker with that is, and it's on Facebook as well too, raise your voice competition. I believe it is on Facebook. Anyhow, so the guy that's doing it, or the two guys that are doing it, I've worked with him in the film industry, and in fact, he's the person, Walter Riggi, that I've been being mentored under for video editing, because he's been in the industry for over 40 years. So I've been very lucky to have his guidance in terms of that stuff. So I'm actually the cinematographer on that show, as well as the intro editor for this right now. So it's just been a wonderful experience, and I can't wait to do it. So I get to listen to some amazing local singers, in the Windsor, Essex County area. And it's, a good time for about 4 hours, and we showcase talent that wouldn't be showcased anywhere else. So.
Kurt, you got to give us a C note real quick.
No. Sorry, because here's the reason why I don't sing. I'm a negative 24 to negative 48 decibel range, so you're not going to get a C from me whatsoever.
Barney,
so I wanted to ask
you, let's turn it around on you. Like, what about you?
Oh, so because I'm hosting this show, so it's about me talking to you all. See, that's
he's like, no, that's not happening.
I'll talk all about myself on your shows, but yeah. So I guess my question to all of you, this is something that over the past several months, I've been really learning more about the AI scene, where there's ChatGPT, and there's literally, because I've been watching some of these like AI themed things. Now my TikTok is just all about all this AI stuff of like this one. I'll give you an example, just as an example. This one guy was talking about, you can have AI write a book for you. All you have to do is say, ChatGPT, give me 5 book titles. And then you pick one of the book titles and say, hey, give me chapter titles for this book title. And it gives you chapter lists, 10. And then say, hey, give me an outline for this chapter. And it gives you an outline for the chapter. And so literally it's like all this AI stuff. And here's the thing. It's like a few months ago, people were like, AI art is going to destroy artists. AI art is going to destroy artists. So it gets down, and I think about, and this is, you can look this up. There was scientists that were saying in the 1800s that there's no way a train can go faster than 50 miles an hour because it'll kill people, because it'll go faster than your heart, than the blood pumping in your heart, in your body will do. It will automatically kill you. We know that's not true. You can be on a train that's going 300 miles an hour now. So that's, we fly in the air. Like there's a fear that AI is going to take over creatives. It's going to take over the work of creatives. But there's got to be an idea that there's, thinking about it as a tool, like electricity is a tool. Like there's other things that are tools. So I guess, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about this a little bit, and it's actually something happened yesterday that kind of opened my eyes just a little bit. So obviously, I have a Kickstarter. I've been doing comic books, and I'm looking for, and I'm always doing comic books, stuff like that. There's a post in Facebook, and this guy was like, had some images, and it's like, I'm selling, I'm looking for to sell, be an artist for your book. I'm looking for $100 something a page, something, blah, blah, blah. The art looked really good, at least to my eyes. Yeah. And I thought to myself, if I ever want another artist, that's someone I could consider. And then I started reading the comments, and people who are a lot more observant than I am was like, you notice the issue there, and there. That's an AI artist. He's ripping off AI art and selling it as his own to get people to give him money for pages. That is one of the great dangers of AI. It's not just that there's artists out there that you could lose their jobs, it's that it's what you can do illegally to try to get people's money and try to scam people.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, then there's beyond that, there's the issues of AI. When AI can now copy images, copy voices, what is the world going to look like when you're looking for what is true, and you can manufacture any truth you want now on anybody. That's where the concern, I think, comes in right now.
I think that's where people really have to do their homework, though, and ask for examples of like sequential art, because I think that's like the big stopper for AI art, if I'm not mistaken, is they can't really replicate sequential art as good, to my understanding.
It was sequential, and like I said, it wasn't until if you had to notice it, you started seeing apparently some people who are better observing than I was, tell that someone had two noses, had like an extra nostril, a few other things that AI tends to do wrong, but you had to pay really close attention. And once again, is that, how was that like as a future to now know another concern? You hire an artist, is it the artist? Is that a real artist, or what's going on with this guy?
No, I think that it comes back to the ability for you to be observant, obviously, is one of the things, but the internet's already been tailored as it is. What we see on the internet, whether it's social media or whether it's artists or whether it's whatever, not many people will show a work in progress. They'll only show the final result just to get the likes. And we're still in that society where everything has to be instantaneous, and everything has to be, oh, this is really good, thumbs up or whatever the case may be. But when it starts to affect a profession like art or like writing or like whatever, there have already been cases where a person has written a book similar to what you mentioned, Barney, and it's been taken down because of the blatant use of not only the art but the writing style itself wouldn't pass muster. So you use it as a tool, yes, but to the extent of trying to now take people out of their own creative spaces is just I just can't agree with that.
Yeah, I would.
And I think. Oh, go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say, I would say with AI, there's a lot of AI out there that we already use, every day, like computer stuff, all kinds of stuff. But when it comes down to like what Kurt was saying, where it's taking art from different artists and mashing it together to make its own thing, that's where it really gets into a gray area. And I feel like for writing prompts and stuff, like sure, it's nice, but it feels like a shortcut to where if you would just like do the work, it'd be faster, because you have to go through there and re-edit it anyways, to my understanding, right? With like the chat, whatever, like go in there and tinker with it and stuff and adjust it, like doing the work and just getting it. I don't know. And maybe I'm speaking out my butt a little bit here because I haven't really used AI, but it almost seems like using that shortcut over and over, like just like writing, like how writers write X amount of words a day until they come up with something, like, just like for us, like that just seems like just doing it would help that engine in our head keep working at its fullest potential. Yeah. It almost seems like we're taking that away by utilizing it,
There's, because the challenge, as we mentioned, like AI art is that's literally like talking to my artist friends. That's literally stealing, because the AI actually looks at images that belong on the internet and then kind of combines them. And that is something that you see a lot of artists say, not only is it taking away our jobs, it's actually stealing from artists. The challenge that I see is about the AI writing. For instance, any one of us can go on ChatGPT and say, can you write up a YouTube script for me for, how to be a podcaster from Canada? Just like so, and then it'll just like
Canada, okay.
Make it 900 words and write it, like make a script on it. So that's the challenge, because that is harder to trace, especially because then you can say, and then you can basically go to ChatGPT and say, can you rewrite this but make it funnier? Like you can actually go on, and this is where it's so in depth when it comes to that, especially when it comes to the AI writing. How can this be utilized as a tool, but not necessarily using it as a tool, but not declaring this is I wrote this by myself, like not taking ownership of it, but utilizing it as a tool like you would with a typewriter or a computer or something.
I would say like maybe YouTube descriptions, like stuff like that you don't want to do, like descriptive, like Facebook. I would say anything for a script you're going to want to probably write out by yourself. I think AI can be useful in that sense, but like to replicate cadence, to replicate, like only you know how your speech pattern is. So when you're writing, like, hey, if I put this word here, my cadence, I'm gonna be able to really amplify the emotion in this. Like an AI isn't gonna be able to do that for you. So I think, using it for descriptive matters, maybe, but like script and stuff, like you're almost better off like doing it yourself, because you know yourself best.
Right.
Yeah. And I've used it on some descriptions of YouTube video interviews that I've done as well too, and just to test it out, just to feel what the water is. And well, yeah, it is verbose. It is a lot for the content that you need. You could easily shorten it down to whatever. But as a general guide to say, okay, I see what they did here, and here, I can completely rewrite that to sound better, type thing. Right. So I think that would be as an outline, sure, but as a final tool to utilize, then 6 of 1, I guess.
Oh, so how much changes did you experience when working with it, if you don't mind me asking? Like when you...
Sorry, it formatted pretty much everything that I wrote. So all the detail, all the highlights I put into, say, a description, say 1,000 words or 500 words or whatever, it ended up expanding it to about 1,500 or almost 2,000 words. It was a lot of that fluff, probably. It just depends on the verbiage that I use.
How much did you take out? Would you say?
Oh, at least 60%, 70%, just because it just was either repetitive or it just wasn't to the standard that I wanted.
Because there like utilizing it as a tool, because you can go and say, taking the description, like say taking your YouTube description, then you can tell ChatGPT, can you write 10 tags for this? There's ways to do it almost from like a secretarial aspect of it, and not necessarily doing the work for you, but doing some of the more of the rote things that would be utilized.
But it's good for Twitter tweets or short form content tweets. Use this URL. Give me a quick summary of what this description is so that it's clickable type thing. And at least now it's like, all right, here's something quick and brief that I could just post because I forgot to do something when I actually post something.
I was just say for someone like Jeffrey, like where you're running and helping maintain campaigns for multiple individuals, that would probably be really useful. If you're running like multiple like YouTube videos for all those accounts, coming up with descriptions or coming up with like long form stuff for them, that probably could be useful for someone of that nature, I would almost imagine.
I try to, right now AI is such a stink about it that I try to keep the hell away from it. Just for the integrity part, because like I said, a lot of right now online, basically it's sort of like I would argue that using AI right now is almost sort of like using CG, like Comicsgate, being part of Comicsgate hashtag. You do it and you're found to do it, they're gonna burn you alive in the community. So I'd rather just keep away from it, and I try not to avoid it. And and at the end of the day, I trust myself better more than I trust an AI at this point.
Yeah, there is something way different than the writing AI piece than it is the art AI piece. The art AI piece literally is, the computer's literally stealing images and reformatting. But I would say, like for instance, utilizing it for as a creative that makes podcasts, being able to say, writing something for like Kurt was saying is like a Twitter is like, here's a description of, like, you write out the description of it's like rewrite this in 100 characters, like something along those lines, where it can actually like do the editing for you, so you don't have to like hem and hum, like, do I cut out the and or do I do this? Like, so being able to utilize it as a tool and not necessarily a replacement of the creative process.
Now, if they ever come up with a really good AI editor for a podcast, yes, I probably would sign up immediately, because the worst part of every podcast is listening to myself talk.
So I would say AI for audio. I mean, we use that too. I know there's denoisers. That's an AI, isn't it? Or AI software. You put it on and it does it for you. I see there is issue with the art AI, the writing AI. I could see use for it, but again, I think it's just one of those things to where, I don't know, like if I'm writing, I want to do it so that way I can get better at it. Maybe use it for prompts to see what I can be doing better. But I mean, if you're using chat, if you're using it and I'm using it and our prompts are similar, that means our stuff's going to sound similar too, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, though, as well, I think it depends on, you can change up writing styles or whatever, but you're going to see something and say, well, no, this is not how I sound, like you were mentioning earlier. And I think it just comes back to, as a guide, sure. As an outline, sure. As an actual copy paste, yeah, I don't think so.
I think like writing out 1,000 words, I could do that. And sure, I'm going to read over it once or twice and maybe make changes here and there. But using AI to prompt it, I'm going to read over that thing a couple of times. And like Kurt said, I might eliminate 60% of it. How much time is that going to take for me to go through, determine what needs to be eliminated, restructure it to reword it to make it sound better? You know, you might end up spending 2 or 3 times longer doing that than just writing it out the first time.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And that's where I would utilize it. I utilize it as shortening something I already wrote, like
Yeah.
abbreviating something or putting something in the line. And then I say it's a great tool to say, give me hashtags for this.
Yeah.
I like the
following
hashtag
thing.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtags and
Yeah.
keywords actually are pretty are a nice feature. Then it's just a copy paste. Here you go. So
Yeah.
What does it draw from?
their own
Everything.
database.
And it depends. Like if you actually say, like you actually pull up Chat GPT and you actually post, like what I've done is like, I have like a good example is saying, here's a description of my YouTube video. And I'll write, can you rewrite this in 200 words? And it might be 500 words, or like, can you rewrite this? Can you rewrite this in 100 words for me? So like, and then you do the colon and then paste what you wrote. So and then it'll just rewrite it. Yeah.
Can it do things in different languages?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because then that would be very, very viable. Like, hey, take my description, put it in Spanish. A big thing is like, because English is only 10% of the world, something like that, right? Like Spanish, the speaking population, like trumps the English speaking population and all the other like languages out there. Like, and if you can hit those markets, you're unstoppable. That's what Mr. Beast is doing right now. He's paying people to translate his videos in different languages because the market's there.
Well, no, there's that already exists because a lot of I think it's Zoom has the option where you pay for automatic transcription and it can actually do it in different languages. I think it already exists. I mean, it's probably not perfect, but it's probably 80% on the money of what's being said.
Because like what you do is start up like a different channel, you know, like Two Geeks Talking Spanish, and like you would re-upload your videos there and have them all Spanish, you know, and that way you're hitting that market too. Like I think that would be an awesome use of it if it worked. I'm not sure.
I just typed in ChatGPT, can you write in French? And then ChatGPT is like, oui, je peux écrire en français. Comment puis-je vous aider aujourd'hui?
So as a Canadian, that French pronunciation wasn't too bad. That's pretty good.
Merci. Yeah. See, I tell people I speak enough French to get into trouble, but not enough to get out of trouble. So.
Sacre bleu. So yeah, I would say, I mean, you could even start doing that now too, where you do a little cut in your description and then like put a different language in there, you know. I could see the use of that, but outside of that though, I don't know, like Kurt was saying, maybe a guide, but it's not going to really hit those cadences. Like that's only something that you can do that AI can't replicate, I feel, right?
And we're just at the tip of it, you know, and I feel really confident that us as creatives, the creative world that we live in generally has made some pretty hard lines in the sand of like, you know, like NFTs, no, AI art, no. And I am, as I say, I sit with like, really with the writing piece is like I firmly believe that it should not replace like I am not the person that would agree with somebody, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, of like write a book for me, because that is the same thing as AI art, and like you're literally cheating because you're not even writing the book, you're telling the AI to write the book, write you a book, and then you're going to sell it, because that's not true. But utilizing it as a tool, the same thing when it comes to, I would see the, and that's the same thing with the AI art piece, is like, that should never be a finished product. You know, casually speaking, like I was sitting down with my 2 girls, I'm like, you know, it's like, and they said, and they typed down like Sonic the Hedgehog eating spaghetti, and then Sonic the Hedgehog eating, like, it's a fun, like looking at it as like a game, but not something that you should be making, like replacing an actual artist for.
Well, like I said, from a teacher's perspective, just wait till your students start handing in AI-written papers.
It's already happening.
Right? Yeah. Right. You're going to ask a kid, give me an analysis of Dante's Inferno. Chat AI, write a paper about Dante's Inferno. Done.
But
Well,
make it
here's the
sound like-
thing, though. There is something that I can't remember what it's called. That actually a teacher can take the document and run it in something to see if it's been written by AI.
Oh, plagiarism and stuff.
But there's a counter to that as well, which is make this paper not sound like it was written by an AI is the tag phrase, and it'll literally
see no, but the trouble comes to it. I mean, we could sit here and talk about argue back and forth. When I ask you about the material, you're not going to know about it. Right. And that's where it comes down to, this is a nice shortcut, but it doesn't take away the hard work and the benefits of the hard work. You're not going to know the material as well. You're not going to know your prompts. You have this write the book for you. You're not going to know what even happens in your book.
Yeah, right. It's the research factor.
Right.
The education.
And that's the most. You want to be an expert in something you're passionate about. And you actually do yourself a disservice if you do the shortcuts the whole time, because then you don't. The best part about learning something is actually going through the process of actually learning it and taking that away from you. And as I say, utilizing it as a tool and not necessarily as a replacement. Those are two completely separate things.
Yeah. Like God, when I first started doing interviewing, I remember it would take me an hour of prep, getting everything set up, getting everything online. We still need to do the audio check and everything. Now I'm up to 30 minutes. I feel confident. I can wake up, have, get my coffee, do a little bit of stretching and be like, okay, well, I got 30 minutes, let's get it. Let's kill it. And that's the thing, you do your hard work, you learn the shortcuts and then you're able to implement them. As a guide, definitely. I see a real big benefit with like translation side of it, helping with that. Because then I would be stuck either finding someone or Googling. And it comes into a question then, are we taking away a job by having it do this, There's a lot of gray area with this.
Right. And it's just being a lot more sophisticated because honestly, Google Translate existed for years.
But
so typing something in. And it was, you ask anybody who can, So just for everybody to know, we're in a chat group together and we'll chat back and forth, giving each other ideas and stuff. And when one of the questions is like, are we going to have enough time to fill up an hour? We literally, we had plenty of time to fill up the hour. So that was good. So real quick, so everybody wanted to do, and I want to do what you told us to do, Jeff, on your show. Everybody do your intro of how you introduce your show as the outro for this show. So. Sure. All right, Cody, we'll go alphabetically.
Oh, again. All right, so my introduction is yo. Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic. Oh man, I'm getting so tied up right now. It is so weird doing an intro as the outro. Yo. Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody. We're keeping it geekly with our three guests, Barney, Kurt, and Jeffrey. We're here to break down the awesome ins and out of podcasting and everything in between.
Thank you. All right, Jeff.
Well, mine's so boring comparison. My setup is always, hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Therese the Stars podcast. And I go into a whole bunch of spiel about thanking my loyal listeners and thanks for your support. I say this is an amazing episode because joining the interview, aboarding the mothership is Kurt Sasso, Cody, and Barney Smith. Now come on board as we go traversing the stars.
I think that's a great intro. Jeez.
It is a good one.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industry. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. Joining us today, and this is a summarized version, are the amazing, talented podcasters from around the world, which is an international stage. We have Barney Smith, Jeff Haas, and of course Cody from the amazing shows. Welcome to Two Geeks Talking.
See, there we go. Perfect.
Summarized.
Well, yeah, there we go. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the chat room, and also tune in. And so I'll make sure the links to all your shows are available in our show notes, and also we'll get together again on video. We're going to be crossing the border into Canada, into Kurt's podcast in June, right?
Yeah, it's a couple months away, and it's going to be on Zoom, so we'll be disconnecting and reconnecting a few times.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you very much, guys.
See you later, great time.
the going live and cutting the shit part was a lot of. Are we allowed to cuss? Sorry.
Oh no, keep it PG. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shooting the crap. I thought my apologies on that.